Welcome to That's Good Sports. I am Brandon. Brandon. The worst named players in the NFL draft may not be the episode you asked for, but it's the episode you're gonna get, Perna. Now, I already posted the best named players episode on Thursday on this channel, so make sure you check that out. Today, though, I'm gonna rank the players who have the kind of names you really just do not want on the gridiron, and I promise you, number one is a Hall of Fame level bad good name. And no, it's not Perna, all right? I can already see you typing that. Also, FivePoints Vids is dropping in with a couple worst names of his own. That's right, they call it a collab. We've got 13 unlucky names in this year's draft. Whew, that's good sports. Yeah. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. You gotta subscribe. I do NFL news almost every day here. And I do have an announcement for my patrons. Will and I will be doing our mock draft for patrons only. I believe I will be posting that Saturday on Patreon. And I do have big dick Patreon shout outs for Jay Gordon, Adam Stun Garcia, Lumosity, William Varela, Kevin Lang upping to $5, big booty buttholes, baby. Evan Zemlin Kaiser, Dak Bexter, Randy Dandy, Crumbs, Jason Oliver, Jose E. Hernandez, The Bird's My Word, Kyle Loney, Michael Edwards, and Blue Ridge Mountain Plumbing upping to $40. The best Blue Ridge Mountain Plumbing in Colorado, people, right there. Thank you all for your donations. Patreon.com/ThatsGoodSports. That's how you support this channel. That's where the mock draft will be for all $5 and up patrons only. Mock draft coming to Patreon. I shall waste no more of your time as we get into the worst college named players heading into the 2020 draft, starting with Quintez Cephus. Wide receiver, Wisconsin, projected 6th round pick. Quintez Cephus are two words. If you tried saying them at an immigration office, they would put you into a cannon and fire you somewhere deep into South America. It can't possibly be English, but it is. Quintez had to live in Wisconsin, where the only names are Bill, Charlie, and Joe. I imagine whenever he had to say his name in the first day of science class, the professor said, "Quintez Cephus?" That's actually what we'll be covering in chapter 4 once we hit the periodic table. Wait, is this my roll sheet or the syllabus? Luckily, one kid in the back of the room raised his hand and said, "I'm syllabus." Number 12, we've got Essang Bassey, cornerback, Wake Forest, 6th round projection. This name pretty much translates to baritone. Makes sense because he's gonna go pretty low in the draft. But perhaps one day we shall be singing his praises in a low voice like Robert Goulet.
That puts gold to shame.
Honestly, as someone who can't sing, I'm a little jealous of the name Essang Bassey. I'm painfully shy, and if I had the chance to hone my skills online at Essang University, maybe I could have been on The Voice. And at 5'9", he's just a bit too short to be a stand-up bass, but could make a decent slot corner in the right system, as he had the second most passes defended with 19 in his sophomore season. Number 12, one of the elves from Lord of the Rings, Elorm Lumor, defensive end, Rutgers, possibly undrafted. Now this definitely sounds like an unscrambled word jumble. Almost the same exact letters in the first and last name, except for that pesky U. Does he sound like a Game of Thrones character? Yes, but a tertiary character that gets killed off-screen. No, maybe it's more of a Dr. Seuss book. Elorm Lumor was born by the moor. His family was poor, so he got a job at the store, peeling apples to the core. He peeled so many apples his fingers grew sore. Would you like to hear some more about Elorm Lumor? No? Oh, okay, I'm done. Also, it's never good if your name sounds like a deadly tumor that affects the elomerus lumerus part of your brain, which is the area that makes you dumb enough to think, hey, I bet I could be a fake sports anchor on YouTube. Speaking of tumors, make sure you inspect your testicles. You can visit manscaped.com to learn more about how you can support testicular cancer awareness with your purchase there, or just make a donation to the Testicular Cancer Society today to save lives. And balls, as suggested by my shirt. Now, this is not an ad. I just think it's very cool Manscaped is helping the Testicular Cancer Society. The thing about the pandemic is people are still getting sick with other terrible things like testicular cancer. I think it's really important that we keep that in perspective as well, and I just wanted to give Manscaped a shout out for taking care of our testicles both outside and inside. Now today, to help me, here is a man who has mastered YouTube with useful and useless sports information. I'm talking about Adam from FivePoints Vids. Make sure you give him a sub on YouTube at his channel, FivePoints Vids. Adam, take it away.
Donovan Peoples-Jones, wide receiver, Michigan, projected draft round 4 through 6. Sounds like a class action lawsuit. The People versus Donovan Jones was settled in a 40-yard dash in which the defendant was ordered to pay $4.48 million to the People. This is one of those names that will barely fit on the back of a jersey, which I do really love seeing. It's no Gilgeous-Alexander or Safarian Jenkins, but it'll do. Khalija Lipscomb, wide receiver, Vanderbilt, projected draft round 3 through 5. I think we're all gonna need a Lipscomb for our quarantine beards and mustaches. Lipscomb may be buried in a deep wide receiver class, but a good Lipscomb can get even the deepest of ingrown hairs to rise to the surface. Khalija could have made it into the best named episode had that O in Lipscomb been a U. You guys ever heard of Jacques Lipschitz? That's a real person too.
Thank you very much, Adam, for bringing us those delicious names. Then we've got Trevor Sims, guard, Missouri, 6th round projection. Trevor could be a 3-course meal of only illegal meats served at a secret endangered game restaurant. $2,000 for the Trevor platter, please. Trevor could be a badass name if he finds success in the NFL. The only real reason it's on the worst name list is because Trevor sounds French. We all know that's not good. Trevor's endless appetite for learning may have cost him a better draft spot. He returned for his final season in 2019 so he could graduate, but was considered one of the best linemen in the SEC, earning first-team all-conference honors back in 2018, which means he might be a really solid late-round pick for whoever takes him. Then we've got Charlie Heck, tackle, North Carolina, projected rounds 3 through 5. Charlie Heck is gonna be the perfect fit on Phillip Rivers' offensive line. Gosh dang it. Charlie is really gonna give those D linemen heck. Heck in a handbasket's what they say. Heck can really knock the fudge out of some defenders, and he really knows how to. Heck yes, he does. Now, he looks exactly like a Charlie Heck, and at 6'8", he's a gentle giant, has great technique, as you might expect from the son of an NFL offensive line coach, and he can earn the name Charlie Hell once he shuts down an elite pass rusher on Sunday. Charlie Hell is a high honor, usually only reserved as the place Charlie's Angels go when they die. Next, it's Solomon Kindly, guard, Georgia, projected round 6 through 7. If you're a guard in the NFL, you really don't want to have the word kind in your last name. You want to be mean and nasty. Alternatively, if you have the word Kindle in your name and you don't read a blitz properly, you're going to open yourself to all sorts of jokes and criticism from Chris Collinsworth, and at that point, you might as well find a new job. Then we've got Stanford Samuels, Florida State, projected rounds 3 through 5. It's gotta be tough to name your kid Stanford, only to see him end up at Florida State. Then we've got Cole McDonald, quarterback, Hawaii, projected day 3 pick. You know what happens when your Uber Eats driver gets stuck in traffic for too long? You end up with some Cole fucking McDonald's. And you would think that a guy who learned very, very early in his life that Cole McDonald had a farm, he'd know how to E-I-E-I throw. But based on this one photo, it looks like he only watched Phillip Rivers tape. The upside is with the amount of face paint he wears, he reminds me of the dude from The Program. Then we've got Cash Daniel, linebacker, Kentucky, undrafted. Cash Daniel is what you get if you threw Gardner Minshew and Daniel Jones in an Appalachian-built particle accelerator. Cash, of course, is spelled with a K, and if he doesn't land on an NFL roster, he is sure to land a gig acting in Season 4 of Ozark. Down to the best of the best. Coming in at number 2, we've got Shaquille Quarterman, inside linebacker from Miami, 4th round projection. Do not try putting him in the dime or nickel package on defense. Also, he prefers to be called Shaquille Little Person. However, a quarter of a Shaq is still taller than me. Quarterman was a 2-time team captain at the U, is a physical linebacker, and his favorite hobby is making out with jewelry. But to become a full-time starter in the NFL, Quarterman's game needs to progress in coverage. But if anyone can make change, it's Quarterman. And here we are, maybe the greatest number 1 worst name of all time. We've got John Penisini, defensive tackle, Utah, day 3 or undrafted projection. What can you say about a name like Penisini? It sounds like an Italian word for not just a penis, but a very, very tiny penis. Aye, the poor lad was born with a penisini. You must cook the penisini at a low temperature, making sure to stir every 30 seconds to keep tender. At 333 pounds, I'm guessing Penisini didn't get bullied too badly for his last name. But the Penisini family does not take insults lying down. They always stand up in the face of adversity. Penisini is a defensive tackle with the ability to penetrate offensive lines, beat off blockers, and rise to the challenge against elite centers and guards, but does his best work on the inside of tight ends. Sometimes Penisini struggles to open up holes all by himself, but there's also a legend that once a Penisini gets drafted, it becomes a Penisoutie. And shout out to Lance Zierlein of NFL.com for including the pronunciation of this name in his bio. Penisini. Penisini. Sorry, Lance. Even if you pronounce it Penisini, it still sounds like a limp noodle. A limp noodle readily available on all grocery store shelves. No, not Penisini again. I want a pasta that's gonna fill me, mama. Thanks for watching another episode of That's Good Sports. Please subscribe here on YouTube. It's really just one click. You push the subscribe button, and then your life changes for the better. What other YouTubers guarantee that your life gets better if you subscribe to them? None. But I care about you. John Penisini.